Example number 387 as to why you never hire a woke activist. Fired X-Men 97 showrunner slams Marvel for race swapping white villains into black people after new Spider-Man cartoon trailer. Now, there's a lot to unpack with that headline right there. Okay, so you're dealing with Beau DeMayo, a guy who, by all accounts, created quite a competent show in X-Men 97. Hear great things about it. Probably not going to go back and watch it, even though I was a big fan of the original animated series back in the day. Something I would watch with, my sister and my dad, and I've told stories about how important that is to my childhood, but I'm not going to be one of those people that are just going to elevate it and hold it up on a pedestal where I just don't want to have those memories ruined. It's like, okay, Beau DeMayo isn't going to come down and personally defile those memories. It's just supporting anything that Disney does at this point in time. Not really all that concerned or really encouraged to go and pursue doing that. So we got him in on this conversation and slamming Marvel for race swapping white villains into black people. I beg your pardon? We've had a big problem. We've had a huge problem when it comes to race swapping over the past decade and change. Specifically, it's just white villains into black people? What was the last time that we had the white to black race swap for a villain? Normally you get it for your hero characters, especially if they're ginger. Oh boy, if the source material requires them to have freckles and red hair, oh, they're out of there. Kind of like with Norman Osborn, but he was depicted in some of those early Ditko panels as having the waves, so there's always been some jokes out there that maybe he's a little bit more of a neighbor than he's letting on. Yo, with this your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man crap dropping at the end of the month, which I was reminded how, yeah, this was supposed to be a tie-in. This cartoon was supposed to fill in the gap for the origin of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, how it was originally pitched as Spider-Man freshman year. It's like, oh, that does ring a bell. But it ended up getting decanonized and ended up getting repurposed. It's just this standalone Spider-Man story. So yeah, I've seen reports that it's not going to be canon. This is a total Elseworld situation, or whatever Marvel calls their non-canonical stories. I think that's a DC branding. So maybe this gives them leeway to seemingly race swap everybody, okay, because of Beau DeMayo's big mad about Harry Osborn. Well, he doesn't mention Harry Osborn, but he does mention Norman Osborn. What does he think about the race swapping and the feminine nature of Harry Osborn, as well as Flash Thompson looking a little bit darker than he did back in the cut, and whatever they're doing to Gwen Stacy, MJ, and the other girls, but the only person that's there is probably the contractually obligated Peter White Parker. It's very interesting why he decides to pick a bone with this. But Beau DeMayo, the fired showrunner of Disney Plus's animated series X-Men 97, recently voiced strong criticisms against Marvel Studios, particularly targeting the practice of race swapping white villains to black people. That's interesting because it's like Norman Osborn. He's going to be a black villain still. You could say, race swapping white villains to black villains. I thought you were all about representation there, Beau. I thought you were about seeing yourself in very powerful and recognizable characters. Okay, some people aspire to be like Norman Osborn. They see themselves in certain depictions. They're somewhat of scientists themselves. The latest attack came in the wake of the trailer of Marvel's new Spider-Man animated series, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, where Norman Osborn, a traditionally white character, is race swapped into a black man. Of course, Osborn eventually goes on to become Spider-Man's arch nemesis, the Green Goblin. What? No, spoilers! DeMayo took to X to express his concerns. I thought he's in a lawsuit with Disney right now, where they're going back and forth as to get to the bottom of why Beau was let go from Disney. Anyways, here, let me rephrase. Hey, Marvel Studios, please stop race swapping white villains to black people. It reads funny. Oh, really? Kang, another redhead race swap, the High Evolutionary. I know that, yeah, that was the villain from Guardians 3, but I had no idea. Norman Osborn, Electro. I always thought Electro was a black guy. And Mordo, the bad guy from Doctor Strange. Yeah, cool. Now just run it back with all of the heroes. Like, what was it, Kevin Feige coming out and saying that, oh yeah, we specifically picked the Eternals and used them because not too many people are familiar with the source material, so we can go ahead and do whatever we want with certain characters from there. His comment has ignited discussion amongst fans, with some interpreting DeMayo's stance as a broader opposition to race swapping in media. No, he was very specific with his terminology. This earned him praise for those those who reject woke storytelling and forced diversity. I'm not going to give him that. No, because I see what he says there. I just read what the man says and interprets it from there. However, his remarks specifically target the transformation of traditionally white antagonists into black characters. He never addressed instances where white protagonists, yes, characters, have been portrayed by actors of different races, yes, like Zendaya as MJ in Tom Holland's Spider-Man films. Critics argue that if DeMayo issue lies in casting black individuals as villains, it actually aligns with the woke arguments rather than opposing wokeism in media. DeMayo has a history of aligning with identity politics in media. Yeah, exactly, which was why it was such a surprise that X-Men 97 ended up being pretty decent. So it's unlikely he's opposing race swapping in a general sense. For example, he chastised X-Men 97 fans for straight-washing Morph's friendship with Wolverine after there was pushback against the fan movement to ship the two characters together in the first season. DeMayo has faced accusations of hypocrisy, notably regarding the character Sunspot in X-Men 97, who is depicted with lighter skin than his comic book counterpart. Yeah, because here's the thing, man. You want to claim with all of your nerd rep in the background, you got graded slabs, you got big poster-sized covers, and yeah, all about X-Men. If you want to tell a diverse story, there are hundreds of mutants out there. You can go ahead and pick one. If you're worried about being faithful to stories, go ahead and do that. Mayo responded to these claims by stating the directive, came from Marvel, and that he opposed it. Asked and answered, DeMayo said, in a reference to the perceived inconsistency, this was a Marvel directive. Crew members and I brought up the Afro heritage multiple times. They wanted a Latino representation in the teams, and Storm and Bishop were already black. Yo, this sounds AIDSy to begin with. Of course, hypocrisy isn't the only thing Beau DeMayo was accused of. Earlier in the year, news broke of Marvel Studios and Disney had terminated DeMayo's role as showrunner of X-Men 97 like a week before the show's premiere. The abrupt dismissal sparked widespread rumors and speculation regarding the reason behind his firing. For many months, Marvel stuck to the story that it was an amicable parting of ways. However, in August, the company released an official statement addressing the matter. Mr. DeMayo was terminated in March of 2024 following an internal investigation. Given the egregious nature of the findings, we severed ties with him immediately, and we have no further affiliation with, and he has no further affiliation with Marvel. While Marvel cited an internal investigation as the reason for DeMayo's termination, details remain murky. Rumors from supposed insiders allege that DeMayo was dismissed for sending inappropriate photos to staff members, with additional allegations pointing to physical and misconduct with colleagues. Yeah, absolutely insane. He was trying to say, no, it's because they shared some fan art and they didn't like the fact that I got portrayed as a race-swapped Cyclops. Huh, weird, huh? DeMayo has consistently denied these accusations, asserting that the firing was rooted in prejudice over his orientation. Sure it was, pal. And claimed his removal from X-Men Season 2 credits followed shortly after he shared fan art celebrating Pride Month depicting himself as skimpy Cyclops-inspired costume. Regardless the underlying reasons, DeMayo has continued to express discontent with Marvel. Following his departure, he has been vocal on social media platforms, recently sharing his critical views of the third season of What If. Wow, was he one of the two people that actually watched that crap? Blasting Marvel for abandoning his future plans for X-Men 97. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because yeah, like I said, multiple people who watched this stuff said that X-Men 97 was actually pretty good. So it's kind of funny how Disney, in their attempt to tick boxes and hire the appropriate people for their ideological stances, and what normally results in a hiring of, say like a Nia DaCosta, director of the Marvels, you ended up hiring the one guy who actually likes and respects X-Men, and he produces your best series, and then you ended up punting him because he's a whack job outside of the confines of the creative room. It's hilarious, and it serves as a constant reminder that getting in bed with these nutcases, either hiring them or trying to appeal to them, never ends up working out for you in the long term. Trying to race swap characters so they can see themselves, making sure that the proper amount of diversity is in originally overlooked stories. How there's not enough black people in Spiderman. So silly. It was a character in a setting thought up in the 60s, in the 1960s New York. Should there be more black people? Maybe, okay? But that was Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's vision for the character back in the cut. It is what it is. And if you're just mad because black people are being portrayed as the aggressors in New York City, Well, I got news for you. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more analogous to the modern day, you might not want to turn on the news anytime soon. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.